Hi guys, and welcome to the third video in our series in Newton View, which has the Pleasantview Sims living in it. If you haven't seen my first video, which is an introduction video, or the second one about the Goths, I sort of recommend that you watch them first. It will just make sense a bit better if you do it that way. Anyway, so I'm going to start off with a blank lot over here. We have two Sims living here, a father and son. This is Julien Cook and his father, Professor Chaos Cook. So in my introduction video, I explained that there was a professor at the University of Pleasantview, in my headcanon, that tried a little experiment. He mixed up the super baby milk that you get in the game with elixir of life, because he wanted to see what would happen. Unfortunately, there was a big explosion, and suddenly all the Sims found themselves in an alternate reality. And suddenly they didn't live in Pleasantview anymore. They lived in a desert town called Newton View. And they all experienced some brain fog. So this is the professor that's the reason for them suddenly finding themselves living in the desert. I decided that he would live in a science facility where he would also conduct his experiments. Now I was tempted to just build a shell for this building, the science facility where he works, and to give him a different home. But I decided against it because this is not a terribly large neighborhood, and I think it would be nice if his home and the science facility could be the same place. So what I'm showing you here is me building the science facility. I tried to go for a look that it could be a house, but it still looked like a science facility that had parking, public parking for instance, and some neighborhood cars standing in front of it. I also, location-wise, made sure to build it across from the police station and next to the fire station. I have down the street a spa from this, and it's close to some of the stores. So it's not in the regular residential area of the neighborhood. So my plan was to, have it be a more businessy area, but also have it, although it will not be a store or anything like that, it will be run kind of similar to the police station and the fire station, where you have a Sim living there, but they're also running the business end of it. So that's my plan for Chaos Cook. And then his son will fulfill the role of Julien Cook from the Simbin. He will be in the culinary career and will play out that story. I didn't have him in my original Pleasantview. I never recreated him, but I've decided to do it this time around, and to bring him into the story by having his father be the reason why everyone ended up in the desert. Now you will see their first interaction over here was a negative one. That wasn't my doing, that was actually just them starting a conversation. But it works out perfectly because it's not that I don't want them to be friends or have a good relationship, but in my headcanon, Julien is kind of a little bit irritated with his father at certain points, because his father keeps on doing experiments that sometimes it's a little bit reckless and it's not the safest things. It's like he's not taking basic safety into account. So in my headcanon, Julien kind of suspects that his father has something to do with the fact that they're living out in the desert, and he remembers that not always being the case. So, I'm going to write that into the story. That is my plan. And, in my headcanon, they talk to each other over here, and he says to his father, Dad, did you ever conduct an experiment that kind of affected the area we live in? And his father is, of course, denying that he did anything like that. But we'll have to wait and see if his father remembers anything, or, if he's also got brain fog and doesn't recall what he did. So my plan with this is also to add in some things that you find in the game, like, for instance, the cow plant and things like that. That, in my headcanon, it's one of his experiments gone wrong. That he tried to create something that just didn't work out the way it was supposed to. So it's kind of a Frankenstein situation, but with a cow plant. And yes, I think it can make for very interesting gameplay. There is really the potential for good storytelling with this. So yeah, I'm excited to try this out and to see how it turns out. So back to the building. I actually didn't know how I was going to start this out, but I was working with the idea of the theme that I wanted. Architecturally, I wanted it to look like it could be a business building, a science facility. In other words, it had to look a little bit modern, but at the same time, I wanted it to be a functioning house, so it needed to have bathrooms, bedrooms, and all of that. Decoration-wise, I pretty much just worked with that in mind. And yeah, I really like the way that this came together in the end, I have to say. I'm quite proud of this. And I'm really sad that I didn't make a clean copy of this, because I just started out building after I already had created the Sims and moved them in. So there's no clean copy of this, but it's not a tough layout. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to recreate this if I ever wanted to. So as part of the modern feel, I wanted to go with a roof that was a little bit unconventional. So you'll see I end up using the tarmac as my roofing, and I don't really create balconies that you can go out on, although that is something that I could have done over here. I just created these flat leveled roofs, and I used a half wall on the top part of it to continue with the shape, but not to have another level. So the Sims cannot actually, the way I created it, they can't actually go out on the roof, although that would have been possible. So as you can see there, I have I have created a very specific shape. I'm also going for a modern industrial type of look, so my stairs are like a silver metal type color, and I end up going for kind of a very light grey paint. And yeah, I like how that turned out as well. The fact that it isn't entirely white, you know, but you do have the white trim on the top. I think it ended up giving it very modern, clean kind of lines. And you'll see I'm saving regularly. I was really scared of losing this and the progress that I'd made, because this is a build that I was just happy with from the beginning. It really turned out well. I do use quite a bit of CC in this. For instance, the railing that I'm using over here is CC. It gave me some trouble at the one entrance. I have to say I had to change my angle a couple of times. For some reason it just wouldn't drag on the correct level like I wanted it to. But eventually I got the hang of it. Excuse me. And yeah, there I go again with some tarmac. I'm not entirely sure whether that would be practical if you would really have that everywhere, but yeah, the greyish color that it gave looked really nice. I felt like that was a nice kind of repeat. And then I used something that's from the game itself. This kind of black. I'm not sure what that falls under. I found it under the category with all the floors together, but whether it's under stone or brick, I'm not sure originally, but it turned out pretty nicely. And I end up making myself some squares in which I could garden, but I end up putting some trees in that, which I have to say framed everything in quite nicely. It's a custom tree that I end up using there. Sorry. And it's one that actually is quite high poly, but it's not a terribly large lot, so you know, it shouldn't be a problem for loading. You will see that I end up building most of my lots on kind of a medium or small lot. I don't go terribly big, just simply because of performance. I found that smaller lots and medium lots just load much better in my game. They load faster, and yeah, I find them more compact, and you can also fit more of them in a neighborhood, so it's an ideal size for me. Even when I play with Sims that are supposed to be rich, I typically don't give them a huge lot. Alright, the doors I chose, I kind of felt like I went between the idea of having everything be very glass and clear, and having a door that more looks like you're kind of, you know, able to lock it and keep whatever is inside in and whatever is outside out. But yeah, this greyish ones, they really fit well as far as I'm concerned. So I basically gave the building two entrances, you know, one just like a front door and one would be from the parking area side. Window wise, this was custom content. I almost, if I remember correctly, I think the windows that I end up using come from kind of an apocalyptic Fallout or something like that diner that I downloaded at some stage. I'm speaking under correction, I'm not 100% sure, but they're quite iconic. They give a very, very different look to your building, and you will see that I take my time over here looking through the windows and kind of deciding and chewing on what I should use. But I end up going with
one eternity later.
Alright, so these are the windows that I spoke about. They have some recolors as well, and I end up looking for something with grey frames just to pick up the door a little bit. I felt like white wouldn't work 100%, so you can see when I look at them from the side, it's at an angle. So it stands out next to your door, which I like. I think it's really nice. They're a little bit more challenging when you want to hang curtains on the inside, because the top board actually goes into your room. But because this is, supposed to be a science facility, I didn't intend on hanging frilly curtains in front of them. So I decided to go with blinds. But yeah, I really liked the look that they gave this building. I always try to... this is a recent development. I used to just plaster the windows wherever I felt like from the inside. But recently, I've been looking at the buildings from the outside and making a choice based on what looks nice from the outside and then checking can it work on the inside. So you will see over here, I didn't even create the floor plan yet, and I started placing windows according to what I felt would look good on the outside of the building. So I'm placing it according to that, and then checking for the next level. Sometimes I place the windows directly above the windows under them, and obviously other times I don't. Of course, you need to check in the end if this works with the rooms and the way that you set out the different rooms. But I liked the way that this looked when the windows were directly above each other. So I went with that as far as I could. I think I do end up changing one window in the end, just simply because it fell halfway in a bathroom and halfway out of it. So that didn't work. The other thing I did was I decided to put windows straight above the doors, the entrances, instead of having the windows be above the windows under them. So I made a bit of a change there. But yeah, I think it turned out really well in the end. You'll see this lot is literally at the edge of the map. So it looks kind of strange because you're really seeing, kind of what's under the map and things like that on the side. I literally built up to the very edge. But it's okay. When you change the angle, you don't see what's under it. So... I take some time just checking out the different angles and checking that it actually looks the way I want it to from the outside. And then I move on to what I want to do with the floor plan. So I felt like a science facility would have a very clinical kind of look, floor tile wise. It wouldn't have loads of carpets and things like that inside of it. Maybe in the bedrooms, but at least on the bottom floor. I check out some different tiles, even linoleum, and I end up going with this white and grey patterned one that's from the game itself. And paint-wise, I also end up going with a very neutral shade of paint. I didn't go with white. I wanted it to pick up a little bit of grey. And I have to say I like the way that turned out. And then I start laying out the rooms, the different rooms that I want in the bottom. So I added in, I think the bathroom is the first thing that I added in. And I tried to be mindful of windows, but this bathroom ended up not having a window. But it's kind of alright with a bathroom. I mean, you don't always need a bathroom and a window. Oh, a window in a bathroom. You don't always need a window in a bathroom. So I add in a hallway from the front door, and I check that it can reach all the rooms, since I would like it to give the illusion that you walk into the science facility and have different office spaces that you can go to. Now, of course, this isn't really going to be true, because you're going to have a living room and a kitchen and a dining room and things like that. But I do end up giving him one area where I start off by putting some, it's actually career rewards that I end up using. And that works well. I just used the cheat that you can unlock all career rewards, and I chose from there objects that I felt like it looked like it belonged in a science facility, or things a scientist would be able to have in his office. I again go for metal stairs. And of course, the only problem I ran into, I was trying to, optimize the use of my space, but the fact that the windows have this curve that go into the room, I wasn't sure if that was going to affect how the Sims can go up and down the stairs if I'm too close to that. And I end up forgetting that I have that part of the roof at the top. So one of my stairways end up poking out, and I needed to move that. But I have to say, you'll see towards the end, I think it turned out alright the way that I placed it. And it didn't matter. I mean, that was easily fixable. I prefer placing more than one set of stairs in a home. Especially if there's more than one Sim living there, or if you have children that will have to go to a school bus. Now, at this stage, we do not have any children that will be living on this lot, but in the future we might. And there's nothing worse than having the school bus or carpool wait and you can't get your Sim down in time because there's a lot of them that have to go down the stairs. So I prefer adding in more than one set of stairs. Just makes it a bit easier. I could have added a lift in this, but I didn't really want to use space for that because I felt like I would rather build proper sized bedrooms upstairs. And I didn't just want one room because, Julien Cook might have children of his own one day or end up getting married or who knows what. And then we needed to have some good space. Okay, so I'm mapping it out over here. I have to say, I know some Simmers prefer to have like a whole map of how they want to build buildings. I usually do not do that. I sit with all of it in front of me and I just decide on the spur of the moment. It's kind of how I used to build as a child, and I didn't really see the need to change that. Okay, so this window on the bottom that I just placed, I ended up having to move because of the bathroom. You'll see eventually I end up moving that. Alright, I take a little bit of a look around again to see if I'm happy. I save continuously. Scared of losing anything. Alright. The floor that I have on the top level is not the final floor. I just put that in so that I could properly see the sizes of the rooms. So I ended up going with the same linoleum in the hallway. And I end up choosing carpets, but a color scheme that works with the rest, just for the bedrooms, and a darker grey tile for the bathroom. This is actually a floor that come with the game. I also end up creating the same type of flooring in the bathroom on the bottom floor, because I feel like that goes with the theme of having kind of a science facility. You wouldn't have beautifully decorated, colorful bathrooms. I don't know, in my head canon, I feel like you wouldn't have. Alright. I end up eventually fixing the paint in all of the rooms, because I built new walls there and I needed to make sure that all of the walls were painted. So I end up fixing that. Now, I don't usually do this. I usually put tiles in the bathrooms, but this bottom bathroom, I actually decided to divide it up. You'll see eventually I have half paint and half tiles. I end up going with a similar paint scheme upstairs for the walls, although the bedrooms I just give a plain creamy white color. And the top bathroom gets a different wall treatment. Just filling in some more paintwork for the walls. Checking what it looks like, and then on the bottom, this was probably the part where I realized I had a problem with the windows. I ended up looking at some doors for the inside, and I tried going for something that would not take too much space, but that would look like it could be possibly office doors, or it could also just work for inside a house. I use white for this. These are custom doors that come with a build set. They look very, very nice, I have to say. And they also come in multiple colors, which is nice. Right. It's starting to take on shape. So I also add in doors upstairs. This bathroom has a strange little hallway inside of it. It just ended up being some extra space, but I decided to utilize that with a toilet in the end, and I have to say I think it looks nice, even though it had a bit of a strange shape to begin with. Alright, it's time to start furnishing. And as you can see, I almost want to say the queen of CC. I have so many things in all of the areas. Bedding, beds, everything you can imagine. I really enjoy finding beautiful things and adding it to my game. Some of it I obviously use more and some less, but I'm quite happy with the custom content I do have. There are some, you will see as I go through, that don't have all their meshes and things like that, and have some blue textures, but yeah, I'll eventually fix that, either remove them or get their meshes. You become a little bit wiser the more you download and realize that you should pay close attention to meshes. Alright, so this bedroom that I'm busy with over here ends up being Julien Cook's bedroom, and I went for quite a modern feel over there with a kind of minimalist black, grey and blue look, which I feel suits him. I'm not going to make Julien Cook be a young guy that's just starting out. If you read his bio in the vanilla game, it sounds like he's been around for a while, and I'm going to run with that story, and we'll see how things end up playing out. But I am considering checking if he could be an option for Bella Goth, because I wouldn't specifically have paired her up with anyone. She kind of has her hands full with all the children that she has to raise. But she rolled the one towards the end of my previous video to find love again. And she has roughly 9 or 10 days left before she becomes an elder. So I'm not quite sure, relationships-wise, will it end up just being kind of a friendship romance that, it's just a partner that she has, being an older woman, just not to be alone? Or will it be a full-blown marriage? And I'm not sure whether there can be another baby. I kind of like my Sims to at least have one child together. But I have to say, they're really close. If I make him the same age, then they're sort of close to becoming elders, and I'm not sure whether that would be practical to have another child, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. And if they are even interested in each other, they might not be. So, but that is my intention. As I said, the only adult that I currently have in this neighborhood that's single and that could be an option would be Sid Roseland, but he is younger than Alexander. So I don't view that as anything that I would want to explore at all. I think that would be very, very strange. So I'm not going to go that direction. And I was going through the townies that I haven't implemented in the game yet. And yeah, I remember Julien Cook. So I thought that could be a very interesting story. So yeah, if you guys could let me know in the comment section if any of you have ever paired up Bella Goth and Julien Cook. Did anyone ever try something like that? Or who do you usually end up pairing him up with? I would be very interested to hear. I had him end up with Lucy Hanby once. I made her playable, and that was in an original Pleasantview. And yeah, they didn't have very attractive kids, I have to say. The kids ended up looking like her, and I don't know, a mix of him that just didn't work very well. But we'll see. I would like whoever he ends up with to at least maybe have one child with him. That would be nice to have his genetics passed along as well, even though my version of Julien Cook isn't the original version because I remade everyone. We'll see how that turns out. Alright, this bedroom is the professor's bedroom. I took a little bit of a different turn here. I didn't make it as modern. I used some more antique looking furniture because I wanted him to have a different type of identity. You know, he strikes me as a professor that maybe smokes some tobacco and you know, isn't always the neatest, and you know, really the opposite of his son, I felt like. Not that I made Julien super neat or anything, but Julien might actually be a bit more organized, whereas his dad, you know, kind of this messy, nutty scientist that's doing unconventional things, and that's how they ended up having the catastrophe that changed Pleasantview forever. This photo frame that I just placed in Julien Cook's room is a really nice photo frame that you can actually click on the frame and then it acts like a camera directly. So you just choose one of the Sims that you don't want in the photo and you just tell them to take a photo. You can choose portrait and you know, there's some limited choices. It's not quite as wide as the camera, I think, but there's some limited choices as to what you can choose, and it takes quite a large photograph that can then hang in your Sim's house. It's quite nice. So unfortunately there aren't really recolors that, you know, for this size photograph. There are for some of the smaller versions of this that have a wooden frame. I do not have those recolors because you can't have these and those recolors. I think Dee made the recolors. You can't have that in your game at the same time. So I had this version already and yeah, I just didn't take it out. But unfortunately you cannot change this frame. So it's got a very modern silver look about it. And it would be nice if, you know, if you could change the frame up from this version, but it can't, as far as I know. So I use it from time to time. Add some pictures of my Sims into their homes without having to use the camera first. Right, so the bathroom, as I mentioned, I placed a toilet in this strange little hallway area that the bathroom has. And yeah, it's a full bathroom. It has shower and bath together, and basin and toilet with a mirror. Alright. I end up keeping it very minimalist looking, although I do have some really nice bathroom rugs and things like that, so I try to always add that into my bathrooms. I've heard some Simmers say before that, you know, their bathrooms are just always having the essentials, they don't really decorate it. But I feel that's kind of a lost opportunity. You get really nice CC for bathrooms as well. You know, different type of towels, toilet rolls, some clutter, and yeah, you can actually make a bathroom look really nice by adding these things in. I didn't end up adding too much clutter to the bathrooms. I feel like that's maybe a female thing. We often end up, you know, having lots of things in our bathrooms, shelves and makeup and nail varnish and who knows what, whereas men don't always have, you know, if you just leave them, they might just have their shaving cream and their toothpaste. So, but I did end up adding in, a little shelf where you can place things, or you could hang up extra towels or clothing items, and the basic towel rail, toilet roll holder, things like that. These small little lights, I also read the other day on Tumblr that someone wrote they really hate these little lights, but I actually find them really helpful. Sometimes there's just, you need to add a light into a room, but you don't want anything really hanging down from the ceiling. And yeah, I find these little spotlights kind of handy for that, so I use them a lot. I would struggle if you took them away from me. Here I realize that the window cannot work over there, so I do end up just removing it. I had some trouble grabbing the windows in this in this build for some reason. As you see, I end up with the door instead of the window. There we go. I had to grab it at an angle. It was kind of strange. So I think, this is where I actually add in half the bathroom tiles, and I decide to leave the rest painted, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I decided it doesn't have to be full of tiles. Constantly saving. I've learned my lesson. I'm saving all the time. Excuse my voice, guys. I have to say I do a job that I have to talk a lot throughout the day, and by the time I reach home in the evenings, my voice is just done. So excuse that. I had a full day of work, and I love making these videos. I love talking to you guys. I hope I'm not speaking into the void, and that someone will actually go through the effort of watching these videos, or that they would not look at it as an effort. I would love for it to be something fun that you enjoy sharing with me, looking at what I'm doing. Some things you may like, some things you may dislike. But yes, it's I really like what we have in the Sims 2 community, where, I mean, maybe other Sims communities have this too. I won't know. But in the Sims 2 community, we really share what we do with each other, mostly for free. And I mean, I'm not a content creator. I don't create CC or anything like that. I would love to. I made a custom job, or a couple actually, which I enjoy just for my own private use. But I'm not, I'm not able to really make CC, or I'm not so knowledgeable on the use of SimPE. But I love storytelling, and I find it so interesting to look at what other people do in their games, and I really enjoy showing you what I'm doing. So I hope that you would kind of go on this journey with me, and follow along, comment. It would be nice if you could comment and just tell me, do you agree with decisions I make in the game? Do you find it interesting? Do you like what you see? I sound like I'm talking as a Sim. Do you like what you see? But yeah, it would be really interesting if anyone ends up watching this and they could just, give me some feedback. I would really enjoy that. It's kind of a learning curve for me because, I'm completely new to video editing and sound editing. I'm sure the quality of my sound and video probably isn't the best. But yeah, I'm enjoying finding out how to do all of this, because I used to just post screenshots and a little bit of story on Tumblr, which I still want to continue doing. But this is something new for me, and it's a new skill that I hope to eventually perfect. So it will be really nice to hear from you, anyone that ends up stumbling across my videos. Back to the build. This is a custom light that I have that I also really like. It's a little bit bigger than the spotlight, but I also like the fact that it's not hanging down from the roof. And yeah, it works well in something like this type of modern building for me. Endlessly saving again. When you watch your videos back, you realize how often, or maybe the lack of, saving that you end up doing. But yeah, I think better safe than sorry. The street lights I'm going for in this neighborhood, it's kind of an old run-down look. My original Pleasantview had very nice modern lights. I think I've mentioned this in another video, I might have. And this time around I decided, they're in a dusty desert town. They can't have modern street lights. So I ended up going for some older, dreary version. You can actually see the police station across quite well from here. Which is ironic, because I don't know if he would be in trouble with the law if they realized what he was busy with, all the experiments he was doing. But it is kind of ironic that he's living right across the police station and conducting all these experiments right across. Alright. Yeah, this is one of my favorite CC stoves. I can't quite remember. I think it's like some glamour set or something that this came from. I'm not entirely sure, but it's the right price, and it fits with so many different styles that I really use it a lot, I have to say. You'll see me use that quite often. And I went for a very clean black and white modern look in the kitchen as well. I don't know whether I'm going to think that it's Julien's influence or if it's just part of it being a science facility. Let's see. The only thing with these counters that I kind of forgot about and then realized was that you cannot put a basin into it. It has its own basin, but what I'm not so fond of is that the basin has a lowered version of the counter, and yeah, that kind of, you can't really get it to level up with the other counters. So I end up not using the basin that come with this counter set. I go with something completely different, which is also CC. And yeah, but I do think that ended up looking nicely. It's not a typical kitchen sink, but the professor is not a typical professor. So he could have something that's a little bit odd in his kitchen. And I'm always placing, I won't say always, but oftentimes I end up placing, this comes with the game, but the water kind of system that you can put out fires. I end up putting that in kitchens. I've had situations where the fire alarm screams and something ends up happening and the fire truck can't get to the building, and yeah, my Sims was no more after that. So since then I just end up putting that in, and I do believe that I end up putting that in eventually. You'll see that I have different folders. There's like a kitchen folder where I've placed a lot of things that I really like using in kitchens. It's a mix of clutter and regular items. And yes, I do use that quite nicely sometimes. I just end up going to my own folder and taking out what I need. So these cabinets that I put on top doesn't come with any of the bottom counters or actually any of the items from different sets that I end up using here. But they're really nice. I like the way that they look. They're by Stefan. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I have to say I have a lot of his things. While I'm saying his things, I'm assuming it's a man. I'm sorry if he's not. But I downloaded, when I started with CC, I happened upon his creations and I really liked them. So I have a lot of his sets and they're from one of his. Alright, so that's my kitchen and bathroom downstairs. Now I had to decide where I wanted to put a dining room and a living room. I like having my dining room close to my kitchen, usually. It just makes sense. So I think that is what I end up building next. Let's check, yes. But I had a bit of a strange shape room over here, and I didn't want to have routing issues. There's nothing worse than someone trying to serve food and not being able to reach the table. So I didn't go with a huge table. I used some of the cheaper options for chairs and tables. I have some that's really, really cheap and actually look very nice. So, but it kind of suited the minimalist look with the black, white and grey that I want.
A few moments later.
Alright. Done with the dining room and looking at the other two rooms that I have left. I decided to use the bigger one as kind of his working area where he does some of his experiments. And I needed a living room, so the smaller room ends up becoming the living room. So I go for, this is another CC couch that I really enjoy using. And I have to stop myself from using the specific set into many of my builds because it just fits with just about everything. So I end up using it really often. But I went for, I think this is actually from the same set, if I'm correct. It looks like it is. And I really end up going for this kind of dull blue and silver combination. And I'm thinking about what type of devices to put in this room. I end up going with a very cheap TV that I have, but it looks quite, also, I should say, it looks like it fits with the minimalist idea, and with this set specifically. I do not end up finding a spot for a gaming device connected to the TV, so I think I end up leaving that out. So I do end up adding an easel in, just for skill building, because you obviously want an area where your Sims can build some skills. And yeah, some very modern art that covers a big part of the wall, and that's pretty much the living space. And then over here, I reach his working area, and I ended up unlocking the career rewards by typing in the cheat. And just simply picking what I feel would be an appropriate amount of things. I think I end up with the cow plant, which you'll see when we reach the gameplay. That was quite funny, what happened with the cow plant. I'm not sure what the future holds. I'm always hesitant to put them in, because I don't like the fact that they eat up my Sims. They might eat up Sims that I don't want them to eat. But we'll see. I'll just, keep a close eye on it. I take the medical career reward. And I, of course, take the science one. I felt like that was something that looks like you could do some damaging experiments on it, or some serious experiments. So I don't think I end up taking any other career rewards from there. Let's check if I'm remembering correctly, but I think I stuck with just those. Oh, probably one of the cameras, though. I have more than one career that has the camera available. So, I did end up adding a telescope. Now, I have a mod. I haven't actually seen whether it works or not in action, because I end up forgetting to put in telescopes for my Sims. But I have a mod that makes it so that alien abduction doesn't really happen. I do not like playing with witches, warlocks, werewolves, aliens, those type of, I would say the occult part of Sims. I do not enjoy that, and I really don't use that in my game. On community lots, I often end up banning the vampires and things like that. So, yeah, I've tried, but it's not for me. So, I end up kind of changing the terrain up a little bit, just so it's not boring sand everywhere. I know they live in the desert, but I actually went online and looked at gardening in desert areas to see, what it looks like. Do people have lawns and things like that? I don't come from a desert area. I don't live in one currently. So I don't really know. And I went to check this, and I saw that people still end up having lawns and things like that. Of course, it will take lots of water to maintain, but I've decided that the ex-residents of Pleasantview are going to have lawns, despite the desert landscape. So I did end up using quite a bit of grass and greenery, but I take some liberties and add in cacti. I keep on wanting to say cactuses. Cacti and shrubbery that you could find in drier areas. Some date palms, things like that. But yeah, from what I see, it seems like people still have other other types of plants and greenery growing there as well. So I end up going with that. And I try these days not to just choose. This is something that, of course, as a child, when you're playing Sims, you just take green and you just cover your entire lot in in one shade of terrain paint. But I'm trying these days not to do that, because that's not really realistic. You would have patchy areas, you would have mud, things like that. So I try to change that. Okay, here you can actually see as I enter live mode, whatever you want to call it, these parking spaces that I have, the decorative ones that spawn the cars, they work quite nicely. I really like the dynamic that they bring to the game. That's obviously custom content as well. I added my own cars, and then I have these parking spaces that just randomly generate cars. And it's nice because it always makes it look like there's someone different visiting the lot. So I feel like that fits over here where you want it to look like the science facility might have some people coming over to come and meet with our naughty professor and so on. So I searched through the car category. I have loads of custom cars. There's one specific site that I can't remember the name of, but I have to say, I think I keep saying he, I'm not sure if it's a he or a she, it's a very talented person that's really able to create, well, almost most of the cars that you can find in real life, you can find on that website, I have to say. If anyone's interested and really want to know where to find that, just, let me know in the comments, and I'll share the link with you. And I think most people may know about this site because a lot of Simmers I know have vehicles from there. Okay, let's see. I know I end up adding in a few more things, like my sim blender, my trusty sim blender, always end up on my lot. Yeah, that's what I'm adding in currently. That's a mod I cannot imagine playing without. It's really helpful. And then, of course, because I play with ACR, I always spawn an ACR controller. You can change what it looks like. It doesn't have to be a stack of books. I usually make it some type of pot plant. And yeah, you can decide how faithful your sim should be through this, and their likes and dislikes when it comes to romance, and how many children they would ideally like to have. It's nice. These are two mods that I would recommend, to make your gameplay more interesting. You just have to make sure that your Sims have tokens, but that's easy. That's what I'm doing here. I'm just giving each of them a token. Sometimes it doesn't ask you to give a Sim a token. And yeah, you can choose their autonomy, and you can choose whether you want it static or whether you want it to be able to change. I prefer to have the settings that I choose for someone be static. I have a pretty standard way of setting this up. I just slightly vary it in, the amount of kids they want, or whether they are willing to cheat on a partner or not. Because, if you don't set that, or you leave that dynamic, trust me, a Sim will never make some lovely moral choice. They will always end up cheating if you don't change this. So I set it to static when it comes to the cheating department, and I set it to totally faithful in most cases. And yeah, I just copied his his settings to his dad. When I start a HUD like this, I always randomize their skills or add them some skills manually. Because, I feel like these people have lived a life up to this point. There is no way they will have absolutely no skills. That just wouldn't make sense. I'm pretty sure I end up giving them degrees. There's a mod called the Bat Box. I have a version of it that looked like a vase. And you'll see at some point I end up using it and giving the Sims degrees. It works for adults and elders that you didn't put through university. And this is the I think this is the Sim Manipulator, if I'm correct. It's another mod I have. You can add cell phones. You can change quite a few things. It's just some handy mods that I end up always having on my lot. But yeah, here I end up giving a degree. You can choose which one you want to give them. I chose physics for the professor. I feel like that makes sense in the direction that he wants to go. And then I use the Sim Blender to give him a career. And I wanted to go with a science career for obvious reasons. You will see I have a lot of careers, a lot of custom ones as well. Alright, so I change the level of his career because I would like him to be at the top. I want him to be a mad scientist because that just suits my story. So it's very nice. With a Sim Blender, you really have the freedom to be able to choose the level of the career and the type of career that you want your Sim to have. Here I end up changing his age. I want him to be further along in his life, just simply because I'm going to end up making Julien cook significantly older. And, I mean, if he's nearly an elder, then his father can't be starting to just be an elder. That just wouldn't make sense. So that's why I end up changing that a bit. So I gave him a art degree because that goes along with a culinary career. So I ended up doing that for Julien, looking for the culinary career. And there it is on the top. Okay. There we go. So he's a host on level 4, but I'm pretty sure that I changed the level of that as well because I wanted him to be the chef that it kind of alludes to in his bio when you play a vanilla game. It wouldn't make sense that he's a host, but, he had some big recipe. Like something that a chef would have. So, yeah, I ended up changing his career level as well. I have to just admit to you that during this recording, one of my younger children ended up really asking for attention at the time that I was busy attempting to set all of this up. So if there's some gaps or some times that I seem a little bit distracted or I don't move very fast on screen, that is the reason. Life happens. You don't just sit and play The Sims with no one around you. So, yeah. You end up having to juggle and try to get a quiet time that you can actually record. And, yeah, it happens to me oftentimes that I decide I'm going to record after everyone goes to sleep, and then I'm just simply too tired, and I end up falling asleep myself. So this is, it's a challenge, but yeah, it's interesting. And for this video, you end up, sometimes you are able to play and talk at the same time, but sometimes you are not. And in this video, I end up doing my voiceover afterwards, which is a different challenge, I have to say, on its own. I find that to be quite challenging. Yes, I do end up adding in a little bit more garden that a gardener can actually take care of. I like having a gardener for the reason that oftentimes if you don't have one, the stray dogs of the neighborhood will come and dig some holes in your lawn. And if you have no plans for a gardener to take care of, you can't hire a gardener, and then your sim has to continuously keep the holes filled in. So it's a bit of a pain. So I ended up adding some flowers that a gardener could take care of. And in that case, I can hire a gardener, which is what I'm letting good old Julien do at the moment. Alright, next, I believe he will be hiring a maid. I really make use of the maids and gardeners in my game. They're quite handy to have. Butlers, not so often. Just really when I feel a family is super rich and should have one, do I add them in. But yeah, I know there's some mods that get rid of the bugs surrounding butlers. I have downloaded some of them. But yeah, the butlers still have some bugginess about them, so I'm not so fond of them. I prefer maids and gardeners and nannies. All the separate ones. Right, so I give them secondary aspirations. I am not the type of simmer who waits for this. Just simply because I feel like it adds to their personality. And why wait? I pretty much do this as soon as I can, and then I just end up adding in as I go along. I decide which aspiration points I want to use how, but I enjoy adding in the secondary aspirations. I also have my chemistry system has been redone to keep that into account when a sim, chooses a potential mate. Their secondary aspiration will also be added into the mix. So here I teleported over Bella because I had this plan to set the two of them up, and I just wanted to see if they found each other attractive at all, because if not, then I had to make a plan B, unless I let poor Bella grow old alone, which feels so sad to do, especially since she has the want to fall in love again. I think even though she has all the kids, she's really, really lonely, and she doesn't want to be alone. She would like to have a second chance at love, and kind of experience what she had with Mortimer over again, or see if it is possible to have that again. So I end up aging up Julien just so that he's a similar age to Bella. I think I add in a little bit more. Yeah. And I calculated, after we played her household, more or less what her age should be. And, okay, it's a good sign that she wants to talk to him. Let's see what happens. he can get his head out of the wall. Maybe. Alright, so I didn't even waste time. I literally went in for it immediately to see if they would be interested in each other. Let's see. Okay, she doesn't say no. Okay, he wants to fall in love. There's one spark so far. Sometimes it ends up going up. I don't know if that has to do with the fact that I, have kind of added in mods that change the chemistry system a little bit. It might have something to do with that, because it doesn't always stay just one. Sometimes when they interact more, it ends up going up. And let's see if that happens to them. So I cheated a little bit. Because this recording was really, really very long. Sorry, excuse me. Very long already because of the build. I cheated a little bit and I sped things up relationship-wise, as if they hit it off really well. So my headcanon is that she came to the science facility because Mortimer was still doing work in the science field up to the end. Even though he was retired, he still, took part in discussions and could have been on the board, kind of as a retired member of staff. And he could have known the specific professor, Professor Cook. And perhaps there was some documentation that Bella found around the house that she felt like she should bring to the science facility. So she actually came to see the professor, but he was perhaps busy with something specific, and his son ended up greeting her. So you will see the professor ends up leaving the premises for a bit. I send him to just install the alarm, but he needed to run some errands. Oh, there's a negative interaction. Let's see. Yeah, I end up pushing it along quite a bit. We could pretend that Bella had known Julien Cook before, and that she kind of thought that he was an attractive man, and that they saw each other a little bit before this. This is not the very first time that they see each other. As you can see, I'm taking screenshots while I'm playing. So it's just for Tumblr that I would like to update a little bit as well. So yeah, they end up hitting it off and they end up falling in love. And he rolls the one to be engaged to Bella. So yes, I did cheat a lot here. I pushed it along quite significantly. I don't always do that. Sometimes I actually play it out the way that it's supposed to be. But in this instance, yeah, I was mindful of the very, very long video. And I decided that there could be a reason why their relationship is as far along as it is. And yeah, that they end up having a friendship that turns into a romance. So yeah, we'll see how Julien Cook and Bella's relationship progress, and if it turns into anything more. I went for the engagement as well, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this ends up, whether they end up getting married and being happy together. I definitely see the potential there. And there he rolls the 1 for marriage. Now, I didn't push it along that far. I feel like that would be pushing it a bit too much. We will play out them being engaged and, deciding where they will live. I kind of assume that they would live in the Goth Manor because the science facility, it's more his dad's scene. He's not in that direction, so I absolutely think that's right. He's saying goodbye to her, so I'm letting her go. And opening the gift that Mr. Humble brought us. I don't think I ever end up putting down any computer over here. And some neighbors end up coming over. So the man that is out in front, Zishon Collins. If you haven't seen my introductory video, he is the pastor in the neighborhood. He's married to Florence, the florist from Blue Water Village. I included her as well. And interestingly enough, I based him on a townie that I think is in Blue Water Village, but interestingly enough, he doesn't get along with that many people. So it's kind of ironic. He's the pastor of the town, but for some reason, I'm not sure whether he's terribly nice, because a lot of Sims end up having negative interactions with him whenever I just let them be. So we'll see. Okay, the professor is back. I'm letting him serve some food. Hopefully it will turn out okay and not be a catastrophe. Like his name suggests, everything he touches is. Let's see if we have positive interactions here. No, there we go, negative. Just like I've been experiencing almost on every lot, that this bastard just doesn't get along with that many people. But okay, I end up making him a friend, regardless. I always try to give my Sims equally, like what I do with the skills. I feel like there's no way that they're this age and they don't know anyone else and they don't have any friends. That's not quite normal. So I usually end up giving them some friends just to start off with, if they're adults or they're quite far into life already. And basically anything but a toddler, I end up giving a few relationships, just to make it more realistic. So before the pastor could have more negative interactions, he became a friend. All right. Yeah, so there you can see, actually, as I go into the relationship panel, Bella now has 2 sets of chemistry with Julien Cook, which wasn't the case initially. Okay, so what I'm simulating here by sending Julien to actually work on the biostation is he suspects that his dad has done something, because he remembers something about a place called Pleasantview, and he feels like something is different. He can't quite put his finger on it, and he's rummaging through his father's things. He feels like there's something fishy going on. So that's what I'm simulating over here. I decided to do that. And I end up leaving the medication that he makes from this in his inventory, because I wanted him to kind of find some things that he took to investigate a little bit further, because he's convinced that his dad has something to do with what's going on. Alright, so the professor is going to go and greet the welcome wagon, if I remember correctly. Over here we have Gustav Lawson, my police chief. He's not a Pleasantview Sim or a townie that really exists. He's just someone I created. I wanted him to be in the neighborhood. I usually have someone that kind of looks like this be a Sim in all of my neighborhoods that just really looks like he could be the police chief. And across from him, walking from the other direction, we have two ladies. There's Florence, my Florence Della Rosa. I have to say she's very pretty. She's married to the pastor, so she's Florence Collins now. And then I have Brandy Letourneau, who married Gustav Lawson in my Pleasantview. So husband and wife came to say hello at the same time. Oh, what on earth did I do with the camera over here? Excuse that. I was trying to get the right level, I'm pretty sure. And she has a silly facial expression, so there we go. Now you can see her. So that's my version of Brandy Letourneau, who's now Brandy Lawson. She works in the intelligence career. And yeah, they are across at the police station, actually right across the street. And yeah, in another video I will show you Florence Della Rosa's florist and yeah, their family. I'll introduce you up close and personal to them. So the professor will come and greet them. Oh, there we go. Okay, the medicine is complete. And I end up, as far as I remember, I end up leaving it in his inventory. Just simply because it's something he found and he's trying to figure out if his dad is behind some of the events that took place. So I end up sending him out as well to greet some of the welcome wagon Sims. But I'm not sure whether I got him to greet everyone by the time he had to go to work, because he actually had to go to work. Let me just check. I think I might have been successful. Okay, he did greet Florence. And let's see if he greets the others before having to leave. Oh, okay, so this is Goopy Gills Carbo's wife, Steffi Gills Carbo. I speak about her in the introduction video too. She was a randomly generated maid and that the game created. And yeah, she ended up with Daniel at first, and they have a child together. And then, but Daniel didn't plan on marrying her. And then afterwards, she really hit it off with my version of Goopy Gills Carbo. And the two of them run a photography business together now. They're married, they have kids, they're doing well. So yeah, that's her. So I'm just saving again to make sure I don't lose any progress. Let's see. Okay, so he's telling the police chief a joke, so he knows him. I think now he'll just greet Steffi and then I'll probably end up sending him off to work. Because otherwise he's going to be late. Yeah. And the professor is trying to enter so that he can go eat with Florence. he didn't end up finishing his meal. Looks like Steffi is joining them, and yeah, the police chief and his wife are playing kicky back on the sidewalk. Maybe they have some time off and they just feel like letting loose. Enjoying themselves in front of the science facility. Kind of strange, but alright. There goes Alexander, and he's taking one of his dogs for a walk. So, yeah, I kind of felt like he would know the professor, maybe because of the work that his dad used to do, and I mean his sister works in the science career as well. So he might actually know them, and I think for that reason I end up having the professor stop eating again and go out to greet him and have a bit of a chat. Yeah, I was scared that he was going to walk off, so this is a little trick I sometimes use. If I can see a sim is just going to walk off the lot, then I make them selectable. Of course, this is done with mods, so that, I can still end up greeting them, because I kind of feel like if you're running after someone calling their name, they won't just continue walking on and leave without you being able to talk to them. So, yeah, I let him talk to Alexander, and I actually made them friends, because, again, he also needs to know some people and be friends with some of the people in the neighborhood. So I decided Alexander was, since Alexander is a very clever, intelligent young man, and, his dad would have introduced him to people who work with him. I'm sure of that. So for that reason, I ended up making them friends. Alexander didn't end up becoming a scientist or anything, but he could still know these people and be friends with them, and have appreciation for the type of work that his dad did and people who are fellow scientists. Alright, so I think I end up sending him to just put away some leftovers and clean up a little bit. I'm taking care of some of his needs. And deciding what else I would like to do with him. I mean, he's pretty skilled, so it's not like he specifically needs any more skills. I'm trying to let him greet a couple of people, just even if it's passers-by, so that he knows more people. Alright, so the lady he just greeted is Dustin Broke's wife, and he's also greeting Malcolm Landgrab, so they're almost the richest and someone who's kind of from the poorer side of town. Yeah, Malcolm, I have to just take a look. I'm not sure what his personality is, but he doesn't seem very nice. It's again just one of those sims that his interactions with other sims are just negative whenever you just let him go. So I'm trying to remember what I did with his personality, whether I actually changed it when I reinvented him. But yeah, he just if I just let him go, he's kind of playing mean tricks on people and just isn't a very pleasant person. So yeah, Alright, I end up saying goodbye and continuing with his needs. Just trying to access the bathroom over there. Clean up a little bit. And I think I'm just looking at the science facility from the outside, kind of deciding if there's anything I want to add. But I have to say, I am happy with how it turned out. I think it's not a lot that's too big to play. It shouldn't be hard to play on this lot. Everything seems to be working well. And I mean, it will not be suitable for a large family, but yeah, maybe a couple with one child or so after the professor isn't the one running it anymore. So I might have to think of a predecessor for him. Someone who would take this over once he doesn't, he's unable to do this type of job anymore, because I mean, his son Julien is in a completely different direction. And yeah, I'll have to kind of up his aspiration a little bit, because in its current state, you know, he won't live like terribly long. Alright, this is Dina. Obviously, she's not alive anymore, or not supposed to be. This is kind of the clone I used. She looks exactly like she did in Pleasantview. But this is the Dina that I used just to make the family trees make sense over here. But yeah, I'm not letting anyone really greet her or anything like that. It's alright if they do, but I still have to just, if I'm sure that I have used her everywhere I should have, relationship-wise and memory-wise and everything, then, you know, Mary Sue, her, and Nina, as well as Sandy Bruty, will kind of need to be taken away from the neighborhood, because yeah, they're not supposed to be around. So that's why I'm not going out of my way to let people greet them and things like that. But I will need to sort that out in advance, because, you know, you don't want them striking up romances with people and things like that. That will not work. Alright, this is Kaylin Langerak, or actually now that she's been married for a while, she's Sentowski. She's quite a pretty sim as well. I really like how this version of her turned out. I feel like this is how I envision Kaylin Langerak. So, but I think he's going to sleep. I'm not sure that I bothered letting him greet her. But yeah, as Sims come by, you know, I will just introduce them to you a little bit. Alright, so he's going to sleep. We have a nice little rainstorm going on. He has the night off. He doesn't need to go to work. So that's nice, because he's not fully... don't know what caused that. Okay, it says climate, so I guess it has something to do with the rain. That ends up happening twice, and I'm still not really sure what was up with that, but okay. Alright, Julien Cook is back. Wow, we have some heavy lightning and thunder. He brought home. Okay, so that's their way of making sure we set up a computer somewhere. I don't know that I ever did that. I don't think I did. So we'll see if that changes eventually, if I end up putting an area for them where they can do gaming. Excuse me. So we just taking care of his needs. And here I actually realized that the cow plant must be hungry. And I end up feeling kind of bad that the poor thing hasn't been paid any attention to. So, yeah, I sought out Julien. Here we get it again. I sought out Julien, and then I end up sending the professor to go feed his cow plant, as the poor thing is so starved that it's trying to lure unsuspecting Sims into coming to be eaten by it. So I decide that the professor needs to go and help the poor cow plant that's so hungry. In my headcanon, this cow plant is just one of the many things that this professor has done experiments with, and yeah, he ended up creating this monstrosity that he now kind of is stuck with and has to feed, and he doesn't quite know what this cow plant is capable of. And yeah, it's another kind of danger to society situation that he has on his hands. And yeah, so he's going out. He realizes he needs to feed his cow plant. So he doesn't even dress. He ends up going out in the rain in his PJs to feed his beloved monstrosity cow plant. And, well, he kind of taunts him, which isn't very nice. Oh my goodness. Oh dear. He literally just got struck by lightning. Okay, his mood wasn't too low, so he should survive this. Of course, I capture this on film. Very nice of me, I know. But I kind of couldn't resist, because I didn't do this, the game did it, but it's kind of perfect for the storyline, because he's really not a very good scientist, and this just proves that he's kind of useless whenever he tries to do something. He's just unsuccessful and messes things up in the worst way that you can imagine. Yeah, the cow plant is still hungry. He still didn't feed the poor thing. So he would need to try again, which is terrible because the rain hasn't let up. So I hope he's successful this time. And yeah, he's not in the best mood now, but he'll have to go feed the cow plant. I feel bad for it. It can't be this hungry. Okay, at least the rain stopped. So, here boy. Here you go. Enjoy. Oh, of course, I'm taking another screenshot. I'm so kind. Making the poor thing wait for his food. Okay, there we go. You've fed the cow plant and you've gained some nature enthusiasm. I hope the cow plant is now at least a little bit satisfied and not hungry anymore. So we'll need to just let the professor fix up his needs again. So we send him off to go eat something healthy. And yes, I know you need fun. I'm sorry. You were in a pretty good mood until you got struck by lightning. And I know that wasn't fun. I have to say some food looks so appetizing. It's really nice. It's really well done. I cannot remember right now who the creator of this is, but it's probably off Tumblr. I downloaded quite a bit of custom foods off there. A lot of it by Jackie93, but I cannot for sure tell you where this one is from. But yeah, it's it looks quite nice and appetizing. Alright, so he can clean that up, and then we need to give him some fun. So I considered what he could do, but I think I end up just sending him to go watch the cooking channel or something. Yes, here I actually realize I always put either a trash compactor or a trash chute in the houses. I really like the trash chute idea. It doesn't break like the trash compactor does. And yeah, that's something I use in almost all my builds. So I realized over here that I didn't actually put that in for him. And that is why he walked all the way to the street to go dispose of it in the garbage can. Alright, so I think we should end the episode here. Thank you all very, very much for joining me, whoever ended up watching this far. You must have nerves of steel. I hope you enjoyed this and that you think it's a nice little addition to our story of Pleasantview. I had fun doing this. And yeah, please join me again, and let's see what happens next. Goodbye, be blessed.